recently started work with young French students on the World Great series of interviews, of which we are delighted to start with Ms. Harvey. Our students here in France are 14 years old and study English in school. They are keen to improve their English through this exciting extracurricular project. And in preparing for this interview, they have learnt what a global citizen is, what sustainable development goals are, about the aims of the Ban Ki-moon Foundation and Ms. Harvey's role there. They have also met with a local journalist to hear about interview techniques and career paths. Our students are looking forward to putting what they have learned into practice and are excited to be working with other students around the world to find out more about these subjects. The Marco Polo Institute students here in Autun will start by asking the first two questions. Then the Selkirk Montessori School in Victoria will follow up with questions 3 and 4. The Blessed Sacrament School in Vancouver will continue with question number 5 before returning to Autun, France, for questions 6 through to 9. And finally, question 10 comes from the Charles P. Allen High School in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I would now like to invite the first student from Autun to introduce himself and ask the first question. Elie.
Hello, my name is Elie. Can you tell us what led you to your current role as COO of the Ban Ki-moon Foundation? Can you tell us about your youth and how you rose into this position?
Thank you very much, Elie. I am very, very happy to be here. It's so great to see so many faces. Thank you for having me. And I hear I'm the first one, so this is a great honor. So I grew up in a very small village in the Austrian mountains, surrounded by snow for 9 months of the year. And I had a lot of contact with people from all over the world who came to ski where I lived. And from a very early age on, I understood that I would like to be in a place where I can always have contact and work with people from all over the world. So I started by learning lots of languages and focusing on my schools to get me more into an international field. And then, I went to school, I went to university, and which is where I also took my course in international development. And then I think what got me to my role right now is basically a lot of hard work, focus on what I really care about, things that are close to my heart. Trust in that things will work out, and optimism and positive thoughts. And also being able to take opportunities as they came along. That's very important, that you can still stay flexible. But lastly, I think the most important thing that really brought me to where I'm here today is a lot of help and support from many, many people around me. So I think this is really important, that you always reach out when you need help, that you always tell people what you want to do in your life and hope that they help you. And then, of course, in turn, give that help back. So I didn't did this alone. I had a lot of help from my family, from my friends, from my teachers. So along the way, this has always been very, very important to me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. Hello, my name is Enzo. What did you learn when you were studying international development at the University of Vienna? Is this a program you recommend to young people? What can young people do if they graduate from this program?
Thank you, Enzo. Yes, so what did I learn? A lot of things. I originally wanted to study anthropology, but in the student fair where I was going to learn about the classes that I could take, anthropology had a very, very long line. And this new course in international development had nobody standing in line for, so I just took that and listen to what they had to say. And I figured out this is actually exactly what I want to do, because what you learn there, besides learning about other cultures and languages and customs and people, is you learn also a lot about how the world works, in a sense. So you will learn about economics, about sociology, about political science, about law. So a lot of things that really help you in your later life to really understand how the world works and how you could eventually change it for the better. So this is the general things that I learned there, but I also learned, and I think this is something you will learn throughout life, is to think critically, to ask questions that are uncomfortable, and also to understand that the world works as a system, as a whole. So none of us are islands. We all are not, no country is by itself, maybe one or two who are really isolated. But we all have, it all goes together. Everything is interlinked, and we really have to understand how something that we do in our countries, I do in Vienna, can have an effect on anybody else around the world. So that's the main things that I learned. Now, what can you do if you graduate? I think you can do quite a lot of things. Obviously, you can go into the international field. So you can work for international organizations, for the UN, for the EU. You can become a politician. You can also work in international, in non-profit organizations, non-governmental organizations. You can work for campaigns. You can become a teacher. You can become a researcher, and you can become a journalist if that's what you're looking for. So there's a lot of fields that you can take after these kinds of studies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Victoria.
Victoria.
Hi, my name is Sukam. I'm from Selkirk, Montessori, Victoria, Canada. Can you tell us about all the foundation's work, your structure, and the services that you offer?
Sure, thank you. So just one little thing, I should have corrected this earlier. We are the Ban Ki-moon Center for Global Citizens. The foundation is something else. It's a sister organization based in Korea. But so the Ban Ki-moon Center was founded by Ban Ki-moon, who was the Secretary General of the United Nations, and by the former Austrian president of so this is Heinz Fischer is his name. So these two gentlemen are friends, and they wanted to build on the legacy that Ban Ki-moon had as the UN Secretary General who was behind leadership, who had the leadership in establishing the Sustainable Development Goals and also the Paris Climate Agreement, both of which have their 5-year anniversary this year. So they founded the Ban Ki-moon Center, and focusing on implementing and really working on these two big topics of Sustainable Development Goals and Paris Agreement, but with a focus on empowering and helping young people and women to become the leaders that we need in the future to really make these two really, really important global agreements happen. And so how do we do this? We have 4 pillars. So we work on education. We have a lot of activities where we work directly with young people and women. We have online classes. We do some work on mediation, or more in the peace area. We do advocacy, so meaning talking to a lot of people at different events and having campaigns about certain topics. And then we have leadership, where we really focus on helping the future leaders really act in this sustainable area.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nina. Can you tell us what human rights and why are women and youth especially targeted when it comes to human rights?
So human rights is something that is quite old already. So it's been around for a long time. It was one of the first declarations that the United Nations signed, and it has its birthday on the 10th of December. So it was last week, was just Human Rights Day. And it's basically a declaration where the countries and of the world agree that we all have a basic rights that help us be happy and to live our normal lives. It refers to the fact that we all have human dignity. We should all be free. We should all be equal. We all should have adequate access to health and education and safety and peace. So it's a very, very important list of rights that really should, that's the word, be true for everybody around the world, that we all have these same rights. It also talks, for example, about the abolition of slavery. Yes, Marc-André?
I also just wanted to add the last part of the question because she wasn't quite finished. And Victoria, no, please forgive me. And Shannon, you can finish the question. Oh, sorry, your name and Victoria.
Nina?
Nina. Why should we be especially protective of women and young people? Why are women particularly vulnerable in times of global crises? How can we help to make sure women are protected from violence everywhere? And how can women receive help and support?
That is a very long question, Nina. And it's I think I could speak about this for hours. So I think the biggest issue is that women and young people, unfortunately, in today's world, still don't have the same power as men or older men. Maybe even old white men. So we really have to make sure that that women and young people are protected and that their rights are also really true for them and that they can really exercise them whenever they need to. For example, if we're talking about women during the current global crisis and why they should be protected, I'm sure you know that women often are in jobs that make less money, that are more insecure, that are more likely to be fired from if something goes wrong with the businesses. So that's one side of the story. On the other side of the story, at least in Austria, we know that women are often doing frontline jobs. So they are nurses and caretakers, they're teachers, they work in shops. So they're especially exposed to the virus in a sense. Then women often still are the main caretakers in families. So they would have to do the homeschooling with their kids, which would also maybe lead to the fact that they might lose their jobs and can't focus on their jobs so much. Then if you're talking about violence, this is also a very important topic if we're talking about the pandemic, because we've learned unfortunately that especially violence at home, so domestic violence has soared during the pandemic and has really affected women badly. So there's many things that we have to really be aware of if we talk about human rights and women and young people. But how can we help? We can help by really paying attention. That's one thing. So we can really look out. So looking at young people and women, are they happy? Do they seem like they're not happy? Can we help? Do we hear something? Also by educating ourselves, talking about it in school to discuss what is violence, because violence is not only hitting somebody, it could also be digital violence online, it could be mental violence, physical, psychological violence. So there's many things we can do. Yes, I think I should stop because I could talk forever about this topic.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Isla, and my school is Blessed Sacrament School. And my question is, can we talk about the notion of a global citizen? Your foundation describes a global citizenship as individuals who are active in benefiting humankind. We lead these online projects where older Canadian and French kids become online mentors to children in other nations. And we invite them to come and visit us someday after COVID is solved. How else can our young global citizens in Canada, USA, France, and China share more responsibility, understanding, and empathy?
Thank you. I think your project is fantastic, and that already shows me that you all really are global citizen. This is a citizen, so that's a really, really cool idea to do cross-national mentorships and things like that. This is great. So I really applaud you and compliment you on this fantastic project. Now, the biggest, yes, a global citizen is somebody who is benefiting humankind. And we do that, we understand it in a way that is threefold. So one thing is you need to understand. So how does the world work? What is sustainable? What is climate change? What are really the bigger problems that we have in this world? So it's like really understanding and learning and knowing the facts. The second part is something that is not so easy to learn, and that is feeling for somebody else, showing empathy, being able to really identify with somebody else's life and problems that they might have. And then lastly, and this is also comes down to motivation, is doing something about it. So a global citizen understands what's going on, they feel for the others, they show empathy, and they do something about it. And I think from what I heard from your project, this is exactly what you're doing, and this is fantastic. I think you should continue doing that, but you can always, on these three principles of learning and feeling and acting, there are so many things that you can really creatively become even more global citizens than you already are. So really learning more about the issues of this world, showing empathy, and coming up with really creative ideas in your field of action. Where can I do something? If you see in your communities or on your online community even, if you see something that is not right and it makes you feel something, see if there's anything you can do about it. Can you really call out somebody to it? Can you make somebody aware of it? Can you tell this person's story? Can you help directly for them, whatever they need? So there's a lot of things for a global citizen that we can all still learn to do. And I don't think nobody's ever finished being a global citizen, so we can always become better global citizens.
Thank you.
Also, on the topic of being a global citizen, every program we see about being a global citizen seems to be for older students, almost university students. We believe we can start earlier than that. Most of us are between 10 to 16 years old. Our youngest participants are as young as 4 years old. Do you think there are things we can do to be global citizens even at a very young age?
I think that is really, really cool. I want to meet the 4-year-old global citizen. This is fantastic. Yes, everybody can do everybody can do things about as global citizens. And so there are things out there that you can do. And so a lot of it you can even do during the pandemic, you can learn online. I would recommend looking at something called the world's largest lesson. You can find them online if you type in the world's largest lesson. They have lots of small videos and training classes, even from very, very young ages, even activity sets, or you can do some crafts around global citizenship. So there's a lot of things already there on world's largest lesson. There is another program called Teaspoons of Hope, also something where you can see more little classes and learn more about it, and they call for activities. There's even campaigns. I think World's Largest Lesson is the one that they have annual campaigns where they invite young people and students to write letters to their political leaders to demand a certain topic, for example, including a certain point climate change education in the curriculums, for example. That's there. Then there's another one where we have it's actually one of our board members, two board members of us of the Ban Ki-moon Center. One of them is Global Citizen, the organization called Global Citizen, and there they have on their website you can take very concrete actions. They really tell you what you need to do. You can sign a petition, or you can post a story on any social media, for example. And the good thing, the really cool thing about Global Citizen is that you can actually earn points, and then with the points you can win prizes, which includes a Spotify account, and if once ever we see the end of this pandemic, actually even tickets to larger concerts for really cool people. So there's really a great opportunity there for Global Citizens. But for example, even things that I'm sure is everywhere where you are is the Scouts movements, for example. They are also Global Citizens, so you could join the Scouts. That's also something that you could do. But lastly, and I keep on repeating myself, learn, educate yourself, and have empathy for people who are less well off than you are.
Thank you.
Thank you and hello. My name is Paco. Can we talk about sustainable development goals? Can you give some examples of them? How can this generation make a difference in how the UN Sustainable Development Goals be achieved?
Thank you. So the Sustainable Development Goals are a big plan for this world to become better by 2030. So we are running out of time. And I would like to rephrase your question when you say, how can this generation make a difference? I think we won't make it without you. So we really need you to act and help us implement the Sustainable Development Goals in the next 10 years. So that being said, the Sustainable Development Goals are 17. They all have sub-targets, so they're very, very detailed. And these 17 goals is something that the whole world agrees is that we want to reach by the end of this decade. So in 10 years' time, there are many. So there are big challenges that we all face together. So it's like they want to end poverty, they want to end hunger, we want to become more equal, we want to provide clean energy access to everybody around this world, we want to fight the climate crisis, we want to work better, we want to fight corruption. There's a lot that we need to do. So yes, it should be led by our governments and our leaders to really make it work, but it needs all hands on deck, and we need to all work on this together by talking about it, make people aware that we have these goals together, that we learn more about them, and then we look at something that we really care about and then do something specifically for that. So if I really care about gender equality and I want to do help young people get a better job, women or girls become better in mathematics. It always means that because the goals are so connected, they're all one big program. Even if I only focus on one, it has effects on all of them. And that's really important to understand if we talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, that they're all connected and they all go together.
Thank you. How can this generation help avoid the climate crisis that will devastate the Earth? How can we support peaceful solutions to today's global challenges? How can we identify more as a member of the human race?
That's a big question. I don't think we can also find an answer in 3 minutes, but I think this generation is doing so much already for the fight against against climate crisis. I think it's been amazing to see in those last 5 years when we saw the rise of young leaders like Greta Thunberg, who really took the stage and took the mic and then called out on us all to do something about it. And they don't shut up. And I think this is one of the biggest things, is speak out and don't shut up, and really, really talk to your leaders, talk to your teachers, talk to your parents, because to make the changes there, and really join Greta in her protests. Right now she's doing it online, so it's quite easy to join her at the moment. Educate yourself so that when you have these difficult conversations about climate change, that you can really back it up with facts, so that you really understand what it means, even if it's really, really basic, but you should be able to talk about it, so learn. So that's one side of the story, is like really making sure that the leaders, that the people who can have like the biggest influence, really act on it. But then on a more personal level, of course, there's many things you can do as an individual to fight the climate crisis. So meaning, don't always take the car, maybe reduce the amount of meat you eat, or even leave it out completely, reduce the dairy products, some animal products in general when you're in your diet. Try to understand in your wherever you live, which fruits and vegetables are currently in season, and eat that instead of the strawberries that are imported from Africa in the middle of December. They taste awful anyway, so might as well skip them until the spring. So there's little things that we can do as individuals, and then there's big things that we can call for our leaders to really make the change.
Thank you. We had never really thought about road safety before, and we were surprised when we heard what Ban Ki-moon Center has to say about road safety. Can you tell us about that? How can we help road safety, which is a major cause of fatalities for young people around the world?
Yes, so road safety, also before I joined the Ban Ki-moon Center, it was also new to me that this was such a big issue, so I'm learning myself. The thing is, what we need to be aware of is that road safety kills more people a year than AIDS and malaria combined, and that is amazing. And 90% of those people who die live in the developing world, and most of them are young people. So that is really crazy for me. When I learned this, I was really surprised. And that helps us also understand that those of us who live in countries where, there's things like sidewalks and street lighting, seat belts and helmets, and like you can't drive drunk. These things are all privileges that we take for granted, but there's not really the truth when you go to a lower middle income country in Africa, in Latin America, or in Asia. So that's something really amazing that I didn't know about. And I think the biggest thing we can do at the moment is really make people aware that it is an issue, because I don't think many people know. And it is it's part of the SDGs, one of the targets of the SDGs. So I think this is it's something that we can really do a campaign about, write about in our social media, educate ourselves about the facts, and then really, maybe even have a presentation in your school about this topic, so that even all the other students know about it, and they might tell their parents and their other friends, so that we can all be more aware of this huge problem that is the reality for young people in Africa or in Asia or in Latin America.
Hey, hello. We are a part of Young Global Citizens, a Vancouver youth movement that was formed years ago. We also have our own movement here at our high school called Cheers for Change at CP Allen. Yeah.
Even if the organization was developed 3 years ago.
Can you move closer to the mic? I cannot really hear you.
Even if the organization was developed 3 years ago, we are a direct result of the change in social climate due to COVID-19 and the movement of subsequent to this change. We both have similar goals of improving the earth and fighting climate change, and are both led by students.
Do you have any advice for our youth movement on how we can build a stronger network to make a real difference in this world? So how can we get trained to be effective members of this movement? And does the organization offer anything along the lines of scholarships, fellowships, etc.?
Yes. So I think one of the biggest things that it's things that I like is that you really are looking for a network, and that is fantastic because you really can benefit so much if you're learning from each other and really exchanging your experience with others. I think I would recommend looking at the activities that you're doing and really trying to understand what worked well and what didn't. And this is actually something that we also do at the Monkey Moon Center. We every time we once in a while, let's say that once a year, every half year, we sit down and look at what's actually working, what is not working, and then we try to replicate what's working and try to find a solution for what is not working. And then we reach out to others to really see how we can do things. So I would say maybe get a teacher or an alumni from your school to help you figure out these kinds of things, to really learn from what you've done in the past, and then maybe try to exchange with the other group in Vancouver to also learn that. Yes, you should. It's good to know a bit more about how does a project work, how do you plan one, how do you do a budget. So these are all things I'm sure the teachers in your school, one or two of them, should actually know how to do. So that would be great. Even if I personally always think it's really important that you know your numbers. There's not only money, but also who are you going to reach, when, at what time. These kinds of things are really, really important. So these are things. There are some online courses that we provide at the Ban Ki-moon Center, but I don't think they're very focused on the actual project management or that kinds of things. But there are some others online, and you can do some crash courses and stuff like that on YouTube, for example. Unfortunately, as I think we had in the first question, some of our fellowships and scholarships, or the things that or mentorships actually also are actually meant for older young people, so like 18 plus at least. So they should be in university. However, that doesn't mean maybe you could go in your community and see whether there is somebody who would like to mentor you. If you go to an organization that you have that seems to do really well, and reach out to them, say, could you be a mentor to our group and help us with it?
Okay. Thank you.
So I want to say a big thank you. Alison, I don't know if you had something. If you don't mind, I will just go ahead and I will take over. Yes, okay. And Madame Harvey, I'm so thankful on behalf of all our students and all those who will be watching this. We have schools everywhere who wanted to be there, and they are very excited to hear from you and to get to know more about the Ban Ki-moon Center. Thank you so much to everyone. The Cheetahs for Change, they're amazing, and you should learn about them. Everyone who's watching this interview, Cheetahs for Change, their microphone. We need to buy them a microphone. Well, we're gonna do that. That's the first fundraising we're gonna do, is get a really good microphone. And I also want to ask Madame Harvey, would you have a closing message for all young people?
I think it was a really great pleasure to be here tonight or this morning for wherever you are. Very, very late at night for Mr. Time. It was such a great pleasure to meet all of you, and you're so inspiring. It's amazing, and I did do some research on the Cheetahs for Change, so I know a little bit of what you're doing. So this is really impressive. It's so great that you are doing this and that you're working on this and you're spending your free time. I think I want to quote Madeleine Albright, who was the first female foreign secretary of the United States. And she says, the older I get, the younger my teachers become. And I think this is exactly what we're doing today, because I think I learned more from you today than I could teach you. I really hope we stay in touch. And I look forward to really hearing what you've been up to. Thank you so much for having me.
Everyone, you can say au revoir and merci and goodbye, and let's keep in touch. Merci. Have a nice day. Have a good night.
Good night. Bye bye. Au revoir. Merci beaucoup.
Au revoir. Merci. Au revoir, Madame Professor Xu. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.